Have you ever noticed that most people wait for a breakthrough while ignoring the behaviors that create breakthroughs? They wait for a better opportunity, a better season, mindset, and version of themselves. But what if the breakthrough you are waiting for is waiting for you? What if the future you want is not hidden in some dramatic moment, but in the small choices you continue making every day? Think about that, because most people spend years searching for a life-changing opportunity while repeatedly overlooking life-changing habits. And that is where many people lose their power. Not because they lack potential, intelligence, or ability, but because they underestimate the impact of daily decisions. A single decision may seem insignificant. One workout, chapter, prayer, difficult conversation, and disciplined choice. None of these seem powerful in isolation. But consistently, they become the foundation of an entirely different life. The problem is that people often judge habits by immediate results instead of long-term impact, and that mindset is dangerous, because the most powerful things in life often appear small in the beginning. A tree begins as a seed, a building begins with a blueprint, a movement begins with one decision, and a transformed life begins with one habit. Yet many people quit because they cannot immediately see progress. They want evidence before commitment. They want results before discipline. They want confidence before action. But life rarely works that way. Most growth happens beneath the surface long before it becomes visible. That is why patience is a form of strength. The ability to continue working when results are not obvious is what separates people who succeed from people who stop. Because the truth is this: most people are not defeated by failure. They are defeated by inconsistency. Failure teaches lessons. Inconsistency prevents growth. Think about how many dreams have been abandoned, not because they were impossible, but because someone stopped too soon. How many businesses were never built, books were never written, goals were never reached, and talents were never developed. Not because success was unavailable, but because persistence disappeared. And persistence disappears when people become addicted to immediate gratification. Modern life has trained people to expect everything quickly: instant entertainment, delivery, answers, and validation. But meaningful growth does not happen instantly. Character and wisdom takes time. Discipline takes time. Confidence takes time. And because these things take time, many people give up before they experience the rewards. The world teaches people to chase convenience, but greatness has never been built on convenience. Greatness is built through commitment. When nobody applauds, progress feels slow, and motivation disappears. Because motivation is unreliable. Some days you will feel inspired. Other days you will feel exhausted. Some days you will feel unstoppable. Other days you will feel uncertain. If your actions depend entirely on your emotions, your progress will always be unstable. That is why discipline matters. Discipline allows you to continue when emotions tell you to quit. Discipline allows you to move forward even when your feelings move backward. And every time you do that, something powerful happens. You build trust with yourself. Most people talk about confidence, but confidence is often misunderstood. Confidence is not believing you will always succeed. It is believing you will continue trying. Confidence grows when you repeatedly keep promises to yourself. When you say you will wake up early and you do it. When you say you will exercise and you do it. When you say you will stop procrastinating and you follow through. Each time you honor your word, you strengthen your self-respect. And self-respect becomes confidence. That is why every habit carries a hidden message. Every action is teaching you something about yourself. When you repeatedly quit, you teach yourself that your commitments are optional. When you repeatedly follow through, you teach yourself that your commitments matter. Over time, those lessons become beliefs, and beliefs become identity. That is why your habits are never just habits. They are evidence of who you are becoming. And this leads to another important truth. Many people are trying to change their lives while remaining attached to the identity that created their problems. They want different results while thinking the same thoughts, making the same excuses, keeping the same routines, accepting the same limitations. But transformation requires separation. You must separate yourself from the habits that no longer serve your future. That can be uncomfortable, because growth often requires letting go. letting go of excuses, distractions, unhealthy environments, limiting beliefs, and sometimes letting go of old versions of yourself. The person you are becoming may require you to release the person you have been. That process is not easy, but it is necessary, because every new level of life demands a new level of responsibility. Responsibility is not punishment, it is power. The moment you take ownership of your choices, you stop waiting for circumstances to change before you improve. You stop blaming, complaining, making excuses, and you start building. Builders focus on solutions, growth, and progress. Even when conditions are imperfect, and conditions will never be perfect. Many people postpone their future because they are waiting for the ideal moment, but perfect timing is often an illusion. There will always be obstacles, uncertainty, and reasons to delay. The question is not whether conditions are perfect. The question is whether your commitment is stronger than your excuses, because excuses are expensive. Every excuse costs something. It costs time, opportunity, growth, and potential. And the longer excuses remain unchallenged, the more expensive they become. One day becomes 1 week. 1 week becomes 1 month. 1 month becomes 1 year. And eventually, people wonder where the time went. Time did not disappear. It was exchanged for distraction, comfort, and delay. And that is why intentional living matters. Intentional people understand that every day is an investment. Every thought, habit, and decision is an investment. The question is not whether you are investing. The question is what you are investing in. Are your habits building your future, or are they quietly stealing it? That question deserves honesty, because honesty creates awareness, and awareness creates change. You cannot improve what you refuse to confront. Sometimes the most powerful thing a person can do is tell themselves the truth about their habits, excuses, discipline, and priorities. Because truth becomes the starting point of transformation. And once you become honest, something remarkable happens. You stop focusing on what everyone else is doing. You stop comparing your journey. You stop measuring your progress against someone else's timeline. You stop allowing comparisons to distract you from your purpose. Comparison is dangerous because it shifts attention away from growth and toward insecurity. The moment you become obsessed with someone else's path, you lose focus on your own. And focus is too valuable to waste. Focus is the currency of achievement. Where attention goes, energy follows. And where energy goes, results eventually appear. That is why successful people protect their attention. They understand that distraction is not merely an inconvenience. It is a thief. Steals productivity, creativity, purpose, potential, and often steals years. That is why protecting your attention is one of the most important habits you can develop. Pay attention to what you consume. What influences you repeatedly enters your mind, because your environment is constantly shaping your identity. The conversations you tolerate, content you consume, people you surround yourself with, and standards you accept. All of it matters, and while you cannot control everything around you, you can control what you allow to influence you. That is power, and powerful people understand something that many people overlook. Small improvements create extraordinary outcomes. You do not have to become perfect overnight. You simply need to become slightly better consistently. One better decision, habit, and choice. Repeated enough times, those small improvements become extraordinary results. That is how transformation works. Not all at once, but little by little, day by day, choice by choice, habit by habit, until one day you look back and realize you became the person you once hoped to be. Not through luck, shortcuts, wishing, but through consistency, through discipline, responsibility, and repeated action. And that brings us to the most important lesson of all. Your future is listening to your present behavior. Every day, your future is receiving instructions from your current habits. Every action, routine, and decision sends a message. The question is, what message are you sending? Are you sending a message of commitment or procrastination? A message of discipline or excuses? A message of growth or comfort? Because your future will respond accordingly, and one day the results of your habits will become impossible to ignore. The life you build tomorrow is being built right now. Not next year, someday, or when conditions improve. Right now, this moment, decision, and choice. And that leads to the truth many people spend years learning. The quality of your life is rarely determined by a single dramatic event. It is determined by the repeated behaviors that shape your character. Your habits become your character, and your character becomes your destiny. So, choose carefully, because every day you are becoming someone. The only question is, who will you become the person your discipline created, or the person your excuses preserved? The answer is being written by your habits. Right now, every single day. And that is why one habit truly can change everything. Not because it changes your life overnight, but because it changes who you become over time. And when you change who you become, everything else begins to change with you. So, stop waiting, postponing, and negotiating with the future you deserve. Take responsibility, action, and the next step. No matter how small, because the smallest disciplined action is more powerful than the biggest unfulfilled intention. And years from now, when you look back on this season of your life, may you be able to say, I stopped making excuses, waiting, and drifting. I became intentional, disciplined, and consistent. And because I changed my habits, I changed my future. That is the power of one habit, and that is how extraordinary lives are built.